You are listening to Hit Play, Not Pause, a Feisty Menopause podcast for active, performance-minded women. I am your host, Celine Yeager. Each week, I bring you advice from athletes, scientists, researchers, and other experts to help you feel and perform your best, no matter what your hormones are doing. This show is a production of Live Feisty Media. Hello, strong, feisty women. I hope you all are well. So this week, I have a real treat for you. Back on the show, we have decorated track cyclist, high-profile Peloton instructor, and feisty fan favorite, Christine D'Ercole. She is back and is open and real and inspiring as ever. And I wanted to have her back on because since we last talked, Christine, who is now 53, has been crushing it. Racing on the track, winning a whole mix of medals, including a few golds at the U.S. Masters Track National and World Championships last year. She also recently launched a dedicated sprint interval training collection at Peloton. And that collection focuses on short bursts of those really, really hard efforts, followed by longer recoveries designed to target those fast twitch muscles and neuromuscular power. Those workouts are especially potent for us in midlife and menopause when both of those can decline. And this is just a really fun, pretty loose conversation. We sat down on a Friday evening when she just got back from getting her hair all freshened up, and it looks fabulous. You should actually check this one out on our YouTube channel to see it for yourself. And it was just great. We catch up on everything from racing on the track to navigating hormone therapy to pelvic floor dysfunction or peeing yourself in the gym, which has been a painful reality for Christine for 26 years, and she is now opening all up about it. It's been really great. You should check her out on Instagram about that. And just the emotional terrain of aging as an athlete. I really appreciate how open and vulnerable Christine is when she really doesn't have to be. And I think this kind of real talk truly helps all of us. Also, she opens with a couple of really cool track racing stories, and to make those stories more fun for those who don't know about track racing, I just want to describe what she does a little bit. Christine races on the velodrome, which is an oval track. It's like a concrete or wooden track. Ours is concrete here, that has steep banked sides that you can use strategically in the races. So because unlike the regular bikes, the ones that you and I typically ride, track bikes only have one gear and no brakes. They are also fixed. That means there is no coasting. You must pedal constantly. So if you want to accelerate to pass someone or win the race, you have to pedal harder, or you can ride up the banking of the track and then dive down to pick up speed. It's very tactical and exciting. There's also nowhere to hide. So when you're racing on the track, all the spectators can pretty much see your every move. They see if you win. They also see if you're dropped. We say it's like racing in a fishbowl. There are also many different types of racing. Sometimes you're in a group. Sometimes it's just you and one other rider in a match sprint going head on head, or head to head, I should say. She does all of it. We also, in this conversation, get into the sticky ground of hormone therapy, including testosterone, and how that all impacts midlife athletes. And this is something that I think about a lot. It comes up on the show quite a bit, and it continues to frustrate me because I often feel like we are making midlife athletes choose between quality of life and the sport they love. And I don't know. I don't have the perfect answers. I'm not sure anyone has perfect answers, but I often feel like there must be better ones. And Christine obviously does too, and we get into that as well. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I will put links to her website, our past podcast, and a couple of articles about her racing in the show notes so you can check them out for yourself. All right. Before we get into it, give us a follow at Feisty Menopause on Instagram and Facebook. Come on in and join our ever-growing Hit Play Not Pause Facebook group. And head into those show notes and click on the link for my free weekly Feisty 40 Plus newsletter with all the training and nutrition and other news you can use. As always, thank you for the kind reviews and 5-star ratings. We are closing in on 700 of those, which is a number I would love to hit because the algorithm simply rewards shows with a higher number of good reviews. And you have all been amazing in that department. So thank you. Finally, quick thanks to Heddas for their continued support of this show. If you are looking for quality running shoes designed specifically for women, by women, using women-specific molds, Heddas got your feet covered. Check them out in the show notes, and thank you, Heddas, for your support. All right, enough of me. Let's have a few words about those awesome sponsors and get on with the show. All right. With a very sharp haircut, people will have to go to the YouTube and check it out because this is fresh, fresh, fresh and fierce. We are welcoming you back, Christine. I'm excited for this conversation. We last spoke, we spoke in December of 2023. The show dropped first show in January because I thought it would be an inspirational. I like to kick off the year with an inspirational show. You left us with a killer Spotify menopause playlist, which I still have downloaded. I use it on my runs. And at the time, I feel like you were just getting warmed up, so to speak, maybe pun intended, on your menopause journey. And you were starting to look ahead to national championships on the track and some other key races. So let's catch up, my friend.
Oh, well, I have to say, thank you for having me back. I love chatting with you. And when I saw you come out to the races, oh, that just made my heart warm.
I loved being there, being able to cheer for you and bang on the boards. It was very exciting.
I every year get the jitters about racing again. And I have to say that since menopause has kicked in, that those jitters are bigger and louder.
Because you're unpredictable?
Because I get it's this sort of watching for when the bar is gonna start to drop. When am I stop seeing gains and start seeing just maintaining as the gain? I don't want to say just maintaining, because maintaining is hard.
Maintaining is gaining.
That's
it's true.
Where I've been changing my self-talk is you can still pull a sub 13-second 200-meter time trial, Christine, and you've been doing that since the 90s. So that's good.
It is. And I maintain that's what I like. I just want to drill this because you are a wordsmith, you are a word person, and I think that it's important to drill this into people. I did a whole little Instagram reel on this when I was training for my running race, and I realized that a lot of my times were very similar to when I was training in my 30s. And I thought, if you do nothing, you go down quickly. You go downhill pretty quickly.
Yes.
So if I am still hitting some of those numbers, even if it takes me long to recover, even blah, 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 I am still technically gaining because I'm not losing.
Exactly. That is a very important thing to remember. Because we're very tied up in the idea of getting better and better and better and better and better and faster and stronger. And you hear from other people like, yeah, there's going to come a time you have to slow down.
Since you're like 27, you hear people telling you that.
Right? Aren't you?
Wait until you're blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I've been hearing that my whole life.
And well, now I'm here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And it's a real reality check because my body does feel different. Things hurt. My back hurts, my knees hurt. Oh my God, I hate hearing myself say that, but the discomfort is real. And the HRT has helped. That is definitely
we'll get to that.
In some things. It's helped the hot flashes. It's helped with clarity in my brain function. And not feeling like I have bumper cars in my head so much. And the other supplements that I'm taking are helping with that. And the Previnex is helping. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. but there are other symptoms that are still happening. The hips and the knees and the back. It's a little bit better in some ways, but sometimes it gets worse. It's a roller coaster. It really is a roller coaster. And I have fear that a little bit afraid of crashing,
Mm,
more than I ever used to be.
I get that, man.
It's,
That's hard. That is legit hard. I froze on the mountain bike this morning. I'm like,
did you?
God damn it. Yeah, and it's paralyzing almost. Like
What happened?
no, I don't even know. I mean, it's worse when I'm a little tired.
Right.
That I have identified. So I was a little tired. It was early. I went out at 6:45 with a friend of mine who also rides early. And it was wet. And I was, some of the trail we were on, which I've ridden a million times. It's my backyard trail. It was a little eroded and a bit steeper, and I started to go down, and I literally slammed on my brakes right on the edge of this bit of a drop. And I had to drop my saddle and sort of scoot myself down rocks. And
Mm-hmm.
I tried not to, because sometimes when that happens, I get real down.
Yeah.
I I decided that it wasn't worth it getting real down because I had just ridden a bunch of great trails and hard trails and technical trails, and I did a 100-mile race that I did quite well at so I just put it all in
Yes.
context.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it is like that fear piece. I don't like that. I don't like that.
It's partly because our prefrontal cortexes are finally connected.
Yeah.
And when I used to ride as a bike messenger all through New York City in the 90s, I was not afraid of anything. There was that sense of invincibility.
Mm.
And now it's a little more real, like things can happen.
And you've been through things.
And
You
I've been
have
through,
crashed. I
yeah,
have too. And
yeah.
your body remembers that.
Your
It's
body
like,
remembers.
yeah.
Yes. And so I'm just reminding myself to just do it.
Mm,
I love it.
mm.
And let's say I get out there and I'm falling off the back of the field. Well, okay then. But at
And you're
least
in a
now
fishbowl. For
okay.
people who don't know, you are racing the track. We'll have set that up in the intro so people know what a track is. But you're at a
Right.
velodrome and there's no hiding. For me, I'm out 100 miles somewhere. Nobody's actually seeing what's happening. I can make up a story really if I want to. I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, this
But
is
we can
all in
see you
front of
every single lap all night.
yeah, totally, totally. Um, and I have to take that kind of self-consciousness out of my head,
Yeah.
like worrying about what anybody thinks. I gotta focus on the race.
Everyone's drinking beer and
And
cheering.
everyone's
Like
drinking.
nobody really cares. We're happy you're out there.
I feel so fortunate that the folks that come to cheer, my friends and people who come to cheer, um, it's fun if there's a win, but it's really about being in the game.
Yeah.
And that's what I have to remind myself also. It's being in the game, just finishing a race sometimes is a huge win when you were afraid to get out there to begin with, afraid of the competition, afraid of what might happen, and feeling intimidated, not trusting yourself. And then in the process of the race, getting over is that's the real win.
You were, and I cut in a little bit to talk about you being in the fishbowl, but what you were saying if I fall off the back, what is going through your head? Like, how do you manage the demons that might come popping in when you're falling off the back?
And it's happened plenty of times. Um, keep pedaling or don't. Like it's this balance between determination and detachment. If it's nationals or world championships, probably going to keep pedaling. Who knows what could happen in front of me? Maybe something will happen and I'll be able to go around it. And we, um, not wishing any crashes on anybody.
Right, right.
Um, I reflect within myself and assess how much discomfort am I really in? I'm uncomfortable. Okay. You can keep moving. You might have to slow down. I'll go through a whole series of like cues in my head, like you'll cut into the wind faster if you get lower, if you drop your shoulder, remember to look ahead, don't look down. Bridge this one gap and hang on to that person in front of you. Bridge that one gap. That's all you have to do. So there's a little micro games that I'll play in my head within the scope of the whole race and see if I can cross that finish line. And that all boils down to self-talk. What am I saying to myself? If I notice my breathing is ragged and my thighs are sizzling, okay, what can you do to calm yourself down? You've got a whole bunch of things. You can tell yourself, I'm okay. You can ask yourself, what if? What if you can? Because that moment of giving up happens often so quickly that we don't even realize that we decided to give up. And to be able to catch ourselves, notice the thought coming and decide not to listen to it and decide to choose another action. That's where I go.
What if I can?
What if I can?
Boy, I really like that.
It's
I
people
because when you're in that spot, you're not there. You're thinking, I
can't
can't, I can't, I can't. But what if I can opens up possibility?
exactly. And that is when we enter an uncomfortable situation, whether it's a bike race or we're going to stand up and do a speech in front of
Hmm.
however many people, or a conversation we're afraid to have. Our self-talk goes right into all the reasons why we can't or shouldn't do the thing that we thought we wanted to do. And to simply ask ourselves, what if, is practicing curiosity. Because when we say, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't bridge that gap, I can't do this, I can't give that speech, we're judging ourselves. And I think the opposite of judgment is curiosity. If we flip that switch and instead of judging ourselves, recognize, do the opposite, practice curiosity and ask, what if I can? Instead of deciding you can't. Because even if you don't bridge the gap or the speech does go haywire, at least you gave yourself the chance. At least you gave yourself the chance.
I'm
And
gonna think that next time I have a presentation to give. I'm gonna be like, what if I knock it out of the park?
yeah, right, like what if the best
Instead of
thing
like, what if
happens?
I fuck it all up? Like,
What if
what
you
if I
win? Like
right?
that happened in a race. And I apologize if I told this story the last time I spoke to you,
That's okay.
but it was a UCI category 1 race. I mean, there were like big deal ladies in the field, and felt like I was out of my depth. And because that race counted for Olympic points for the Olympic bid. This was back in 2018.
Mm.
And I was not needing any Olympic points. I don't need any of these. Sorry, girls. And they were all so much younger than me. It was a scratch race, and I was just trailing behind this girl from Trinidad, and someone named Chelsea had broken away, and the field's doing its murmuration thing. They're going up track, they're thinning out, coming down track, and going up track again. And I didn't want any part of it. I just wanted to finish the race. That's all I wanted to do, was finish with the pack. And as the field is going up and they're not chasing Chelsea, this girl and I'm just following her. Like, I'm not even actively racing. I'm just following and trying to not get dropped. And she stays low, and I just stayed with her. And the next thing I knew, we were like a quarter lap ahead of the pack, and they weren't chasing. And I looked back and I thought, I don't belong here.
Mm.
I don't do breakaways. I decided, judging myself, I don't do breakaways. And then I looked back ahead, and noticed that we were actually like, it was reasonable to think that we might catch Chelsea. And within a couple of laps, that happened. The field was still not chasing. And I'm like, well, I can't go back now. Like, that would be really dumb. So I just felt like, I guess I got to stay here. We caught Chelsea. We dropped Chelsea. And then she and I kept just taking turns. We would pace line each other, very sportswoman like. And then when it came to the final 2 laps to go, I was in front. I'm like, damn it, I can't pull up and let her go through. So if I wish I could do that math in my head earlier, I would have, but I am not good at that kind of math to figure out who should be leading on which lap so that I could get the last lap.
Right.
But so I stayed in front, and in that, my thighs were on fire. My breathing was like, and I said, you have got to get up now. And I stood up for just a couple of pedal strokes. I don't know how I even stayed on my bike, and I won that race.
That's awesome.
I was like, yeah, taking all those Olympic points. But I'm so proud of that race because I was navigating my life at speed. I was navigating my self-talk and my self-judgment and flipping it around. Because at some point in there, I said, not only what if I can, I am doing it.
That's
And
awesome.
that's my biggest, I don't know, my happiest race story, I think.
Well, you going back to 2024 that we started here with, you had a great year. You won 2 gold, a silver, and a bronze, right?
I did.
Some of that was nationals, yes.
That was nationals.
Yeah.
And at Worlds, oh my Lord. Oh, I was 6 inches from gold.
Oh,
Yeah. I raced to the match sprints, which I love. And I did a real fun moment in one of the sprints where I swooped down behind the woman from Argentina, and she couldn't catch me. And I was like, yes. And then
that,
she won the next two. So, but we were close. And that gave me a lot of confidence because I perceived her as being so strong. And when it came down to the fact that I was racing her, I could not believe it. I couldn't believe I was going to be racing her. Uh, I was completely intimidated by her. And then there we were. And every race was reasonably close. It wasn't like nobody was leaving each other in the dust. So it made me feel like, oh, I'm a little stronger than I think. And we have to, and this is why I'm racing again, because we have to give ourselves the opportunity to surprise ourselves.
and you had also overcome more than a little adversity going into that. I went through your Instagram and I remembered you talking about it when I saw your post in January talking about getting your MRI on both of your hips. What was happening there?
So my hip sockets, it seems like with the torque that goes into the torque and the weight that goes into track cycling training, like the leg press, the squats, and then the heavy resistance on the bike. Um, it felt like my hip socket was just like my femur was getting jammed in the wrong
Hmm.
position. And I was occasionally having repeatedly, but inconsistently having moments of profound pain in my hip. And one day I literally was fine, just walking around fine. Didn't have pain, and I don't know what I did. And it just, I couldn't lift my leg. I couldn't move it was excruciating pain. And I thought I tore something. And it had been like smaller versions of that leading up to that moment for months. And then suddenly it was like, I gotta go to the ER now. I gotta figure this out. It was not the ER, but it was like a walk-in clinic.
Yeah, yeah.
And they so I had both hips done at the same time, which by the way, they don't usually do. It was like
It's
I
just
don't,
an MRI. You're just lying
it's an
there, right?
MRI. But so there's not really a whole lot wrong with my hips. There's like little bumps on the nodules or something on the head, but
Mm-hmm.
they said that's not that everybody has those, and that's not what would be causing your pain. A tiny little bit of arthritis is just, but like I don't think you really feel that. There's a little bit of narrowing of the space on both sides, but I think it was like inconclusive.
Hmm.
So I went to PT and I did a lot of just strengthening my joints with these like one-legged little baby squats, stabilization stuff.
Hmm.
And that I think has helped to correct some of my muscular imbalances from having done the same limited range of motion, repetitive movement for most of my life. And so that was very helpful. And I've incorporated a lot of those exercises like hip dips, standing on a step and dropping one hip down, and hip hikes. That's what it's called.
Yep.
Doing bridges, your shoulders on the floor, your knees bent, you lift your hips, but then dipping the right hip, then dipping the left hip. That has been this sort of isolation of that
Mm.
been really helpful. And cars.
Mm. I love cars.
Do
They
you?
actually really work. I don't love them. They're boring. I mean, super boring. But I I have a tonal. Do you know what a tonal is?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I follow this woman, Christina Centenary, who is
Mm-hmm.
really great with mobility. She does sports specific training, and I think that that has helped tremendously with running specifically because I'm a little more prone to niggles with running, and
Yeah.
I that it they're very simple, but they how often do you take your joints through their full range of motion? Like never.
Oh, right. You have to. You
Yeah,
have to. You have to, especially when you do something that is so limited range.
totally.
Yeah, you have to oppose that. Um,
Were
and
you on hormone therapy at the time in January?
I started in October of 24.
Okay.
It started in October of 24. And MIDI has been amazing with the HRT and the care that I've gotten. And there's um there's some anti-inflammatory that I'm so sorry, I cannot remember the name of right now, that I'm going to try, that I'm very looking forward to. There's a lot of anti-inflammatories out there, but there's a new one. And I'll tell you more about that once I get on it and try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
The
do you use for HRT?
I have estrogen. I'm on two, or estradiol. It's the patch.
Yep.
Um, 0.75, and then the progesterone at night,
Yep.
but not testosterone.
Well, you can't.
Correct. Which I think is a very important conversation to have.
Who do we have that conversation with? I have had this conversation with so many people. I can't even tell you that none of these WADA, USADA, none of the ADA rules were made with masters, women especially, in mind.
Right. I would like to figure out who to talk to. I actually started a conversation with Dr. Mindy Goldman
I love her.
at, at MIDI, and she's so lovely. To figure out like how do we change the story here? And it's not, and change the idea that people think that testosterone is like it's the man's drug, and it's about sexuality only, and that it's doping, but our bodies created it along with the estrogen and the progesterone. So why is it left out of the mix when, if I understand correctly, you would, on the smallest dose, equivalent to what we would have produced however many years ago naturally in our own bodies, we would improve recovery, we'd improve sleep, would improve body composition, would improve pain, and that's an overall, and improve clarity of thought, and that would improve quality of life. And so how is that? Well, yes, you know what? That is performance enhancing because I'm going to feel better, but it's not performance enhancing in a way that's like you're taking steroids.
It's these line. I mean, the lines. We could have this. This is a whole separate podcast. But
Another
you,
whole
I mean,
podcast.
as we all know, like the lines. Like the whole testosterone thing. There just aren't enough studies, aren't enough randomized control trials, all the things, all the things, and that takes time. And here we are.
Right.
As far as the whole doping conversation, they're all arbitrary lines in the sand as far as I am concerned. What is, what isn't,
Mm-hmm.
you've been in the sport a long time. Eh,
Right. And you're
Yeah,
afraid to take an aspirin.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's a whole thing. No, I totally get it. But I feel most, and this isn't to say I don't feel bad for you because I do. But I do feel you're a tested athlete. You're competing at the national world level. There are many women hearing our voices right now who have zero sex drive or have something that it's actually indicated for and have research for and have a good case that they could make scientifically, even for the biggest skeptics in the room. And they still technically shouldn't be using it because they're doing Ironman triathlon, even though
Right.
they may finish 175th. Do you know what I mean? And people just fight all day. Well, you're technically doping. It's against the sport rules, and technically you're right. And it's just such a messy, messy conversation.
Very messy. And what's sad is that I feel like I have to make a choice
Hmm.
between my body being in pain and my quality of life in that regard and doing the thing that I love, which also impacts my quality of life. If I can't do the thing that I love, and then so the conversation in my head is, well, if I had bones that I was afraid were going to break when I crash, wouldn't it taking the testosterone make it safer for me to race my bike if it improved my bone density and my muscle mass so that if I crash, I'd have a better chance of healing better and not having that broken hip limit the length of my life?
You have to wait until there's more randomized controlled trials to show that. I just
I
it's
know.
it, it's
It's
a I hear you, and it's a very interesting
yeah.
thought experiment. But I we'll keep that conversation going offline because I've been since I started this sort of marinating on who to
Yeah.
talk to, what these conversations look like. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're having a good journey with MIDI. I have a really good relationship with them too. I think the online providers like them are a godsend because there's so many women who can't find care other way.
So many women who have just been dismissed.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Just
Yeah.
like this is part of getting older. Just there's nothing to be done. And the number of women who um when I learned about that test or the the study in the 90s that made everyone say no to HRT
The
because
Women's Health Initiative that came that in the early 2000s
the
that
link between estrogen and breast cancer, that is now we have recognized all of the faults with that test and understand that it's not actually true. It's so many women had responded on some of my posts about, oh, I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of this. And it's like, I'm not the doctor, but just can you have a conversation with someone because you might.
And the conversations where you've talked to Mindy. I mean, the conversations about actual breast cancer survivors
Right.
are moving at a very quick pace now.
Yes.
The thing that bothers me, maybe it's hard to say most because there's a lot of things that bother me, is how everything shut down and we lost so much time
Right.
after that
Yeah.
because nobody, it was a moonshot. It was $1 million thing, and it just threw a very cold, wet blanket on interest, conversation. When it just I think we'd be so much seeing how fast things are moving now. I think we'd be so much further ahead.
We'd be so much further ahead. I, and on that note, I was talking with a friend of mine today about the post that I did about pelvic floor,
Oh, we're coming to
my
that.
pelvic floor challenges, trying to do box jumps the other day and feeling so humiliated in the gym. And, she's like, talk to someone. I'm like, I am on it. I am on it now. And then I said, it's funny thinking about it. I've been dealing with it for 26 years. I've been dealing with it since I had my daughter. And I never spoke about it.
Wow.
I simply did not run. And if I went to some boot camp class and they're telling me to do jumping jacks, I'm like, can't do that. And not because I don't want to, but and the humiliation of that. I can't do an obstacle course. I'm gonna peel over. But
Well,
like, why
that's
didn't I speak up 26 years ago? And my friend said, I'd like to remind you that 26 years ago, nobody was talking about it, and you probably wouldn't have gotten care.
It's a great point, actually. It's a great
Yeah.
point. And to give people a little context of what you're talking about, because I saw that this week, and one of the things I love dearly about you is your openness and vulnerability because you are a very public person, you're a public personality, you're kind of a big deal, in the world here. Um, and you don't have to talk about this stuff. You really don't. I mean, there's no obligation, yet you are very open and you're very vulnerable. And that post on box jumps where you're crying saying, and I've been afraid to do this because I'm going to pee myself. And guess what? Like that is that's such a relief for so many people who are in the exact same boat.
I put that in my story that day. And because I was like, this doesn't need to live forever. And I really almost didn't post it, but then my gut was telling me, be brave. It's real. Somebody out there might have the same situation and will feel seen. And if I can do that for someone, then I'm not going to feel less alone. They're not going to feel, I'm going to feel less alone. They're going to feel less alone. And the number of DMs I got was like, oh, advice. People say, if I'm in Texas, but like I would treat you, and or I'm here and I'm there, and all of these medical professionals. I started writing back I wrote back to like 10, 15 people. I'm like, can you please, thank you so much for responding, but can you please take this? I'm going to post this in my feed. Let's have the conversation where everyone can hear it and see it. And I want to go through, there's, I don't know, 700 comments now. Um, I want to collect every single professional person's providers, and make another post with, hey, here are people you can go to.
So you mentioned you've been dealing with this 26 years since the birth of your daughter,
Yeah.
right? Has it gotten worse with the menopause transition?
It is, it's gone in and out. It's was really, really bad initially when I had her.
Yeah.
Um, and then there was a period of time where it was not really that big a deal. I had to be mindful, but I could, wasn't bad. And I was teaching a class called Willpower and Grace that Stacey Lee Krause, one of my first mentors, created. It is a beautiful barefoot cardio class. And we did a lot of plyo. And I
Mm.
do these squats, these jumps and leaps. And I love jumping around in that class. But as I progressed, teaching that class, the jumps got less and less because I was like, oh, I can't, oh, surprise. And I'm only halfway through class. I got to get through the rest of the class and I need to like just stay in front and don't walk around the room. I used to walk around the room and like correct people's form. And I was like, you're very damp. You need to not do that. Just stay in front until the class is over and change your clothes quickly. That's a horrible thing. It had gotten really, really bad in my late 40s.
Yeah.
But like it was always worse around my period. It was better like a week after, but I did notice that relationship. So I have to find out like what is the hormonal relationship? The because our hormones are always going like that. What is the relationship between the body's ability to hold? What do hormones have to do with that? The muscle laxity. Well,
Yep.
when we
Because the pelvic floor, I mean, we can't see it like our biceps, right? But it's true though. There's still
muscular.
muscles going on there
Yes.
and tendons and connective tissues, and they're all responding to that same milieu of hormones. We just don't have the same visibility, literally, to them.
Right, right. And I did just remember that like, when you during pregnancy, the hormone relaxin,
Yeah.
forgot the name, right? It allows your ligaments to become more flexible so that you make room for a baby. So there must be something like that. Obviously, I'm not a scientist. I don't know if it's the same hormone, but something's happening where the muscles are not holding.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm actually interviewing a woman in a couple of weeks who this is her specialty is the musculoskeletal system in the pelvis because it's really pretty fascinating because all we've told women forever is like do Kegels, do Kegels, do Kegels. But for someone like myself who has spent literally a decade like holding my pee for hours at a time on a bike because I'm out
Oh,
there for,
right.
like 8 hours, it messed things up. The last thing I needed to do was more clenching.
Right. Oh my God.
And it's kind of like that muscle gets weak from all that. It's like if you held a bicep
Oh, yeah.
thing for a day,
Oh
like you
God.
wouldn't be able to get your full range of motion
Right.
from there anymore. So it's really an interesting, that's what I'm saying. Muscles are muscles are muscles. And
Yes.
we don't learn anything about that. And it is impactful. I had to sort of retrain myself to relax those muscles. And
Mm,
also, I found vaginal estrogen helped. I didn't have much of a real issue. I started getting true urgency issues once I hit menopause, though. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I can get in the door kind of situation.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I've had numerous times where out and about, shopping, whatever, gone to dinner, and I'm like, I sort of have to go, but like, I'll make it home. And I get in the front door, and it's like, I can't get to the bathroom fast enough. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
happened? Is
Just
that because I go,
dropping my
I
pants
have
as
to
I'm
go?
running across
I'm
the
like,
floor.
I'm like, honey, I didn't make it. Can you please bring me some clothes? Um, I didn't make so, and then I'm listen, I know that we're not alone. I would have never said this out loud to anyone years ago, but like then you gotta clean up. And you're like, what is my life? What is my body? What the hell is happening here? I, really? Really?
Have you decided a course of action? Are you going to
Yeah.
see a pelvic floor therapist?
Yeah, there's someone in the LVHN
Oh,
network.
good.
Um, I just learned her name. Last name is Noor, Noor. Um, and my friend Lisa Bednarski recommended her. And yeah, I'm gonna see her as soon as I possibly can. And I will be sharing what happens there too.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is I'm on a roll now. Like we're gonna talk about everything that no one wants to talk about. I've said it many times. If we are not talking about what's real, what the fuck are we talking about? Like we just prance around and pretend everything's okay while we're all suffering from this fucking thing. Sorry, I don't know if I could not curse or not on your show.
You're fine. You're fine. It's Friday night. We're all fine. It's fine.
I think that openness and being vulnerable and transparent about what's really happening is the only way we're going to change the world.
I agree. I agree. And that's, I mean, when I started the show going on 5 years ago, which I can't even believe,
Mhm.
I had the same exact notions. I just thought the night before I was going to do it, I thought, what am I doing? Am I actually going to, am I actually going to say this stuff and talk about all this? But I thought, if not me, who and why not? And it's, boy, I mean, it's so rewarding.
It is when you realize you don't have to put on a show.
Yeah.
You don't have to pretend anything is other than what it is. And that as soon as we start actually interacting in that realm, everything changes. Everything changes. And, there are places where there's resistance to talking like that, and talking about those things. But then, the more you continue to do it, and the more you keep doing what you're doing, I keep doing what I'm doing, Stacey Sims keeps doing what she's doing, then it will be heard by those who are ready to hear it,
And the walls come down.
and the walls will come down.
The walls come down.
Yeah.
The walls, the more people chip away at them, the walls just crumble. And you can see that everywhere.
And how many women have come to you and said, thank God you're
So
talking
many.
about this and doing things about this. And people who say, I really thought I was alone,
Yep.
really thought I was alone, cannot believe, and thank you for your bravery.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes such a difference because no, boy, you're not alone. No matter what you're going through,
Right?
you are not alone. I promise
No
you.
matter what. Exactly.
So speaking of menopause and speaking out loud and all the great things, somebody had posted in the Hit Play Not Pause Facebook group your new sprint
Oh,
interval classes that you're doing on demand at Peloton. Talk to us
yes.
about that.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of this. I've been working on doing a sprint program for a long time. But when I learned about the sprint interval training, the specific ratio of 30 seconds or less with 2 to 4 minutes of recovery that you have talked about, that Stacey Sims has talked about, I was like, I got to put this out there. I've got to put this out there. And to have been able to create a program that the first part of it is 3 classes, a 20, a 30, and a 45, where you start with 15-second intervals and 2 minutes and 45 seconds of recovery in the 20-minute class.
Yep.
And you only have I think there's only 4 intervals.
People be surprised how hard that is still.
I know. People like, that's a long recovery. I'm like, not if you hit failure.
Yeah.
Then you're going to wish it was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have just, it's enough recovery that at first you're like, I'm not doing that again. But a minute and a half, 2 minutes and change later, you're like, oh, okay. And you actually might do better on your second and third interval.
Almost always.
Almost always, once the body's sort of acclimated and you've kicked those systems into
Yep.
action. And the second one is 20-second intervals with, I think, 3 minutes of recovery. And then watch me be wrong and be quoting myself
That's fine.
They all follow within the ratio.
Yeah.
And the 45-minute class does a range. There's a 15, a 20, and a 30.
Yeah.
And the recoveries get longer progressively. And then you have a break. You have 3 sets with a longer break in between. And I'm so, so proud to have been able to put that on, to be able to put that on the platform and have it in a place where it can be easily found in a collection. And they even went so far, and I'm so grateful for this, as to take classes that I put out there, like just under the name intervals, that were taught with the same principles and the same messaging about how good this is for us. It's good for everyone. but particularly good for us women going through what we're going through with menopause. The fast twitch muscle fiber activation.
Yep.
And what really got me about that was, yes, I know about fast twitch muscle fibers. I do a lot of sprinting on the track. So yes, oh yes, we need to do this. But understanding that those muscle fibers are also what are going to help you. You start slipping down the stairs and you can catch yourself from that and stop the fall. You trip on the sidewalk, you can catch yourself and stop yourself from that fall because you've been doing this kind of work. That snap reaction, that can save lives.
100%.
Because if you fall
100%.
and break that hip or anything, it's as we're getting older, healing from those things is a totally different ball game.
And we don't talk enough about those type 2 sprint fibers. I think I'm starting to talk more about them because the first mission was just get to people like think about muscle. Your muscle is really important, right? Like that was sort of the first mission. And then a lot of people are like, "Oh, we can make muscle in all these different ranges." I'm like, "Yeah, you can. That's true. But you really do need some of this work because those type 2 fibers are the first to go with age, period. And we don't have as much muscle as women to start. And with the hormonal changes, that becomes a more vulnerable process, right? So it's just keeping that power, the strength that requires just like a heavier effort. And it, to your point, that is what keeps you independent. Your power is really important, and your strength is really important.
Yes. Because we all just want to be able to keep moving forward. You know, people exercise for a lot of different reasons. They exercise to have
Yeah.
pretty arms or a flat stomach. And it's like we have to wrap our heads around a more functional uh purpose behind our exercise, because at the end of the day, you know, you might have dieted well and had a six pack and you finally got down to a size 2, but can you like chase your grandchildren up the stairs or in the yard? If you can't do that, that's not, there's nothing beautiful about that. To get to the end of your days and have on your gravestone finally dropped the last 10 pounds, like what is this what our lives are come to? We're so trained to have like being skinny and little and tiny and frail your life's goal.
It makes me so sad.
It's so sad and it's still so real. I mean, it's, I think the other voices about being bigger than a smaller pair of pants are louder now, but that is so ingrained. And if we can give people, enough women specifically, an opportunity to understand how to be powerful, how to experience what it is to feel what kind of power your body can produce, grants you autonomy, grants you agency, not just to like be able to get up from the chair and go somewhere easily, but to think that way, that you can just do what you want to do. And I think sprint, that quick fire, the physicalization of that must impact how we think.
Oh, 100%. And it's literally good for your brain. Like literally good for your brain. It produces, here's the geek moment, it produces myokines, particularly irisin, a beautifully named myokine, that crosses the blood-brain barrier, stimulates BDNF, miracle grow for your brain, like literally helps you prevent dementia and all the things that women worry about.
I'll be bringing all of those words you just said into my next class. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
I'll be showing off.
What
That's
do you have on the goal list for the rest of this year?
well, um, nationals and worlds.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's inappropriate to say this or not. If it's like, fuck it. My book proposal is out in the world now.
I didn't know you had a book proposal.
I have a book proposal and it is out in the world. I have an agent, which yeah, finally, me.
What is the book?
The book, working title is Talking to Myself,
Oh, I love that.
journey from self-harm to self-care through self-talk. And it takes a lot of my stories that I share in my workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And then the exercises, the writing exercises and the assignments or experiments, if you will, that I use in my workshops and on my retreats to help people recognize how they're talking to themselves, to help them catch those moments and redirect themselves. So whether it's a silent walk or writing about a postcard, of making up a story, or any of the 800 other exercises like stand naked in front of the mirror, say something nice to yourself, which is pretty basic and pretty terrifying. So the book is stories and assignments that follow the whole journey of workshops, my workshops in self-talk. And it's part memoir because that's how I came to the idea of, oh, if I talk to myself differently, I can change what might happen. If I change the words, I might be able to change my mind about how I feel about something. And it's not take negative self-talk and make it positive.
Yeah.
I am not actually about positive self-talk. I'm about productive self-talk. I'm not going to stand in front of the mirror and as many gold medals as my thighs have won, I don't necessarily enjoy looking at them. I am proud of them. And there's,
No, that's real.
First world trauma, right? My emotional trauma over, oh, I couldn't be a ballerina. Here, look at me mocking myself, right? But wow, how that has impacted my life. And whether anyone wanted to be a ballerina or not, if someone was told at some point in their life that you don't look right and you don't fit, and therefore you're never going to be what you want to be, you get told that enough times, you believe it and you start telling it to yourself. We can change the channel. We don't realize that we can change the channel. So the work that I'm doing in the book is about, yes, it's changing the chatter in your head. It's how to change how you're talking to yourself. It's about learning to practice agency.
I love it. I love it. And I'm sending into the universe good publisher vibes. We're manifesting it right now. I could talk to you all night. I
I
really
know,
appreciate
right?
your time.
I
Is that
can't believe an hour went by.
I know. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with this time
Mm.
as we close up this conversation?
I would like to say, do what scares you. If you have an inkling that there is something you want to do, you want to try, you want to learn how to ride a bike. You're 40 something, 50 something years old, 60 something, whatever. Learn how to ride a bike, learn how to fly fishing, take the photography class, do the thing, whatever it is. Try mountain biking. Do the thing. Don't ever feel what you might feel like, oh, I could never do that. If we recognize when we're new at something that it's okay to be new and we go in with the attitude of curiosity, practicing being curious and asking questions, then we can never fail. We have to give ourselves a chance to practice agency and to show up for ourselves. Don't sit on any of your dreams, however little tiny they are. And remember that how you're talking to yourself what you say to yourself is the loudest thing you're ever going to hear. So make
Mm.
sure it's helping you and not hurting you.
We'll leave it right there. So thank you so much again
Thank
for
you.
sharing yourself and for all that you do. I really
I
appreciate you.
appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Well, that's our show. Come on back next week for another real raw conversation. This time with Marion Jones, who we all know went from being the first woman to win 5 track and field medals at a single Olympics to losing them all and going to prison after admitting to using banned substances after lying about it to federal investigators. Marion has been talking about all of it lately with the message that failure doesn't have to be forever. And basically, no matter how badly you mess up in this life, you don't have to stay in that mess. And as she is now approaching her 50th birthday, she's also dedicated to pushing out of her comfort zone and has dipped her toes into triathlon, a journey that has not been easy. And as she shares here, which is something she hasn't really talked about to date, perimenopause is not making it any easier. Marion has a lot to say about all of it, and I was so glad she was willing to be so open. So come on back for that one. And until then, as always, stay feisty. You've been listening to Hit Play, Not Pause, a feisty menopause podcast for active, performance-minded women. I'm your host, Celine Yeager. The show is edited and produced by the strong, talented, and amazing women at Live Feisty Media. Follow us on social media at Feisty Menopause, and please help us spread the word. Screenshot and share this episode on your social media channels with the tag @FeistyMenopause. Share the show with your friends, and please subscribe, like, review, and rate this show wherever you get your podcasts. Word of mouth and good reviews make it easier for other listeners to find. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay feisty.